I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Vita and Chip and Culpy.
We're doing something we've never done before.
Yes, we have.
Really? We have?
Yeah, you did this once before. I think it's only happened once.
It's only happened once.
Yeah, you played the thing.
Okay, so this is the big homie Emmett, and the name of this band is Von Havod. Yeah, so they do basically... the EP is a sampler of a future album showcasing both the slower and faster side of Von Havod's vision. Expect pitch, black sound design, funeral doom, anti-grooves, melancholic melodies, and blackened mid-tempo blasting. Now, we don't know what the hell all that means, but it's sure to be awesome. Alright, so... well, inshallah. We'll play a 10-second clip of it, then we'll get into our song.
Well, I'm sure that people that know, like, all that stuff will be like, yes!
Sure.
He said, note, fuck the loudness war. I don't know what that means, it just sounded fun.
There's a loudness war?
Right here, note, fuck the loudness war. This production is purposefully highly dynamic and uncompressed with a dynamic range of DR12. Play it loud!
Sure.
And... go. There you go.
Whoa.
It was heavy.
that was heavy.
Uh-huh.
For sure. So if you want to hear the rest of it, we've got the link in the description. There you are.
Yep. There'll be a couple links in there for, you know, their Facebook or just different links that they gave. So those will be in there.
So if you want your band featured, hit us up at vinandsori@gmail.com.
Yeah, this is the $15 tier. You can have something promoted. So it doesn't have to be your band. It could be your, I don't know.
We play 15 seconds to the song.
Yeah, if you make stars in your spare time and you're selling them. It doesn't have to be a band is what I'm saying. Whatever you do that you want to promote.
Right.
You can get it promoted at the beginning of the video. So, anyway.
Yeah, shout out to the big homie Joel.
Yep.
And,
hope you're doing well, buddy.
Yep, so this is Sabaton. Everybody's asking for Sabaton.
Yep.
So, this is Carolus Rex.
Ready? Go.
Go.
That's good. Yes. Yes, definitely. This is one of those songs, you know how they'll take like a regular secular song and then they'll like make it a Christian song?
Yeah.
This would be a badass one to switch. I'm not gonna lie.
To steal, you mean?
To
Steal!
steal!
Thou shalt not steal! Stop it!
Is it well, you know, I guess I've seen other people do that too, like where they'll like switch the words of something. It's all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Can they do that without paying some royalty or something to the original artist?
I don't know. There's this guy Weird Al Yankovic. He does it all. That's what he does.
But Weird Al, is he the one that does funny stuff though?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's not really the same. I feel like that promotes your stuff. Because then people be like, oh, what's the original? You know? But why are you looking at me like that, babe?
I don't understand your question.
Well, if somebody took this and they did exactly, but they just switched the words, like, I'm curious if they would have to pay, so they would think that you would have to pay at least some sort of percentage or something. Like, you can't just take all their... But anyway, it doesn't really matter because neither one of us know the answer to that question. I just think this would make a really crazy Christian song, okay? Guys, be mad at you if
Well,
if
it
you
is
want.
kind of a Christian song.
Yeah,
The person...
but more.
The person
He's
there...
conquering Europe.
The person they're personifying definitely believes that God is with him.
Yeah.
You know?
He says, my will be done.
Crowned by God, not by the church.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I was like, that, yeah, okay. All right.
Well, you're you know, there's not really... I'm assuming he's talking about the Catholic Church. And that...
I wonder how old he was.
That would have been... Well, Google, here's what Google says about him. This is Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. Carolus Rex redirects here for the remaining fragment of Gothenburg City Wall, yada, 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 yada. Oh, look, for the Sabaton album. Sometimes called Carl,
Yeah.
or Latin as Carolus Rex, was the king of Sweden from 1697 to 1718.
He assumed power at the age of 15. I wondered that because it said
Yeah.
the 15 thing.
15
I've
years.
been waiting for 15 years
Yeah,
to
yeah.
sit on the throne.
Then he says he proved himself in battle. So this dude was doing jihad at 15. That's pretty crazy.
He must have been doing jihad before that, right? Because if you assumed power at 15, then
right. And he
he's
said
saying,
he
I
was
proved
already a
myself
true-
by the time I was 15.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But he, you know, I don't know if the Council of Trent declared that a heresy or not, but to say that your power came directly from God and not as mediated through the church, I'm pretty
Paul
sure,
said that.
Pretty sure the Council of Trent said that
You
that
can't
was
do that?
heresy.
Paul said that though.
Paul said what? That
He's
the
like,
power-
I don't get my, from you or anybody else, but he said that it came from God.
Yeah, but he was a person that had a position in the church. What he's saying is that his political power came directly from God and not as mediated through the church.
Okay. Yeah.
Because during that time, the church was basically like the primary institution on the earth. Mm-hmm. And so it was borderline heretical to say that because God didn't act in the world except through the church.
Okay.
So if you say you got your power directly from God and that you circumvented the church, then,
Yeah.
Yep. Which, like, and that's where the whole discussion about the concept of separating church and state,
Yep.
that the church doesn't have the power to dictate who's in power. That's one form of the separation of church and state that's necessary. The other form, obviously, is and what's interesting is that, when this guy is making the distinction as a state representative, he's not saying, I don't want anything to do with God or whatever.
Yeah.
In this particular version, it's, I got it directly from, the state power came directly from God and not through the church.
Right.
So a lot of times, like when you try to separate church and state, a lot of times people are including God in that. Mm-hmm. And in the early, this guy is Swedish, but there was that thought process that was happening in the 16th and 17th centuries, and the 17th and the 18th centuries that, everybody was trying to figure out what role the church was to play in the government, because everybody realized, okay, we just got out of the Dark Ages, the Reformation had happened about 100 years previous to this, And so it's like, okay, so we know the Roman Catholic Church doesn't have the stranglehold over the world that they were claiming that they had.
Yep.
You know, the one little monk over there in Germany could turn your entire world upside down.
Right, yeah.
So he's saying, yeah, sure, I'm not abandoning God, but you guys, I definitely didn't get my power from y'all.
Yep.
And then our guys were, you know, a couple of years later, and on the English side, you had Bloody Mary, who was forcing people to say that they believed in transubstantiation and all this other jazz, and they were getting killed. You know, Protestants were getting killed all over. The separatists, the Puritans were getting killed. And
yeah.
Blah, blah. That's we're I'm just thinking through the church-state separation since the Reformation and how that affected everything even to this modern day. It's very ironic. But this guy's really interesting because he's not throwing God away, but at the same time, and he calls the Lord, which really means the master, that's the Greek term. He calls God his protector, but then right after that, it's make them bow to my will. So like he'll say that God is above him in so long, just so long as God will put him above other people.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very self-aware. Obviously, it wasn't written by him.
Yeah.
But he, you know, whoever wrote this song, I think, probably had a very good grip on the psychology. You know, like, oh yeah, I'll follow God or whatever, just so long as everybody realizes who I am. I answer to the Lord.
It's funny too because he's calling God Lord or Master, but then he's telling God what to do.
Right. Right.
It's like, well, that's not how that works.
Right. Proved in battle, led my men to victory. No man alive or dead commands me. I answer to the Lord. Sometimes I answer to the Lord is just a spiritualized way of saying that nobody can tell me nothing. What's that song? Can't nobody tell me nothing? There's a whole record that was titled that. Hear my orders, question me and die. What I say was said in heaven.
And so it shall be done.
That's another gripe at the Catholic Church, because in Matthew chapter 16, when Peter makes that declaration, Jesus says, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. And the interpretation usually is that Peter is getting basically a direct line from God. And so he's binding things on earth because God told him that the thing was already done in heaven. Like you and God are so like perfectly aligned that whatever you say on earth is what God already said in heaven. Well, he's saying, I have that direct channel with the Lord, not the Pope. That's some pretty heretical.
Risky stuff.
That's pretty heretical stuff. Well, I don't think it was that risky, but it was definitely heretical.
How is it not risky to say something heretical?
Because he was a state power. It wasn't, you know, the church was using state power to persecute Martin Luther. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, he was already a state power, so he's like, this is all, I'm good. I'm not worried about none of you guys.
When he said, say my name when you pray, right there, say my name when you pray to the skies, is he saying that you would pray that he would rise?
Right, because the next line is to see Carolus rise to the skies. Like he's saying, you know, pray for me when you pray. I was like
pretty sure that that's what he was saying, but then I wasn't sure if, you know how it says in the Bible that we should pray in the name of Jesus?
Right.
So I was like, is he saying that we should?
Well, there might be some melding there because this guy is clearly, you know, he's clearly a megalomaniac.
Yeah.
You know, which you have to be if you're going to be a monarch in the 16th, 17th century.
Yeah.
You kind of had to be megalomaniacal, and you had to kind of put yourself out there as somebody not to be messed with, as almost a divine figure, so that people would be scared to even try to assassinate you.
Yeah.
Because it's not that difficult to I mean, there was one stretch of like a year when Rome had 3 emperors.
Oh my gosh.
So Galba was around for like 3 months, and then the other 2 until Vespasian left Jerusalem, and then basically
that's not worth it.
Vespasian came over and became the emperor after Nero died, and like when Vespasian showed up, like Halas, that was it. They didn't want it with Vespasian, and then he left Titus to go destroy Jerusalem and all that.
See, that is not worth it to me. Like, you can have all that, but you could. My mom taught me to do this.
Yeah, but see, Vespasian was. But the difference between Galba.
So, like, no, anytime you go to sleep, somebody could come and kill you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You kind of had to have some mythical. So, like Vespasian, if you look at Josephus, there's a story that somebody came to Vespasian that they were blind, and then he healed them. And so I don't know whether or not that happened. Obviously, from a New Testament perspective, that has a lot of theological import. If you're talking about the white rider in the Four Horsemen, but if you take a preterist view of Revelation, which I do, but the point of that story was to kind of elevate him beyond just a regular human, because it created that whole fear, like, yo, we can't mess with this guy because he's got something supernatural happening. As a matter of fact, the people were so afraid of Nero that there's this phenomenon called the Nero redivivus myth. And the idea was that Nero had risen from the dead.
Yes. Yep.
Because people were so terrorized by him that even after he was dead, they were afraid of celebrating.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, so with all those rulers, it's like, yeah, you'd have to watch your back every second. But if you could project some sort of supernatural, and
keeps people in a different place. So
right. And of course, in our worldview, some of that stuff is accurate in the sense that Vespasian probably was indwelt by, a very high-ranking demon, if not Satan himself, and probably did some really supernatural stuff.
Right.
But yeah, so in a Christian, Nero was like, oh, I'm the son of the gods, the gods, whatever.
Yep.
And then if you're in a Christian milieu, you're just basically going to say the same thing, only you're just going to replace the pagan stuff with the Christian stuff. And then, you just make obeying him a theological, because there's, aside from him saying he got it directly from God and not the church, that's a theological statement, but it's also a political one. Namely, now the power has shifted from the church mediating to the state who their leader should be. Because if the church puts the state leader in place, that means the church is really the one in power.
Right, exactly.
And then those are so if you're a regular, just citizen, and the guy goes, I got this directly from Allah and not the church, then now he becomes the ultimate authority. So it's a theological statement, but it's also a political one. Like it's just very, very interesting when, because I believe that Christianity is eventually going to cover the entire earth. But it's obvious to me that we haven't been able to figure out how to manage power or wealth.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like the Christian church we're not mature enough yet.
Money!
Yeah, we're not mature enough yet in our collective thinking to actually be worthy of ruling the world.
Right, yeah.
And so,
Yeah, and there you can tell too by, some of the discussions that you hear about, welfare or, the immigrants or, immigration. There's just different things where you're like, no, you're not ready.
Yeah.
You're not ready.
Yeah, I believe there'll come a day when people will be like, what? There's a separation between church and state? Huh?
Right. Yeah.
But it's necessary now. Because, we don't, like I said, we're not mature enough to run, real basic things.
Yep.
So it's just very interesting. It's like you're going out of the frying pan and into the fire. It's like, okay, I don't want to be ruled by the church. So now you're going to be ruled by this guy. It's the same thing. He has his own Sharia. It's the same thing with like secularism. It's like, oh, we'll be free from religious rule. And then, okay, good. Now we have secularism, and now we have your secular Sharia. But secularists believe that their way of looking at the world is just a standard. No, it's one of millions of philosophies is how to run a society.
Right.
It just so happens that you're in power and you believe that your secularist Sharia should rule the day. So it doesn't matter. You're always, somebody's going to lead something unless you're going to go the anarchist route, which, but somebody's going to lead something. And so, it just depends. This is a really crazy example to me of like battling worldviews and people, wanting supremacy and just assuming that because the position they're in, that they're right. So I'm sure that this guy came from I'm sure he proved himself in battle. I mean, maybe.
I wonder how long he lived for.
Yeah, maybe he was a really impressive kid at 15,
Yeah.
So I'm sure, that, but I'm sure a lot of that also had to do with the fact that he was born probably into a privileged family. You know, he must have been. It's not like he was like a rags to riches story. I don't think.
Right.
So it's like, part of me would feel like, man, wouldn't it be hard not to think that you were like somehow chosen from heaven if you came from this crazy family and then, you know, you were fighting, you were doing jihad.
You were already proving yourself,
while you were a teenager. Like, it'd be hard.
Yeah, of course.
It'd be hard not to be like, yeah, I'm just some regular guy.
Yeah. Well, you're clearly not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I loved it though. I loved the energy behind it. I liked the way that I don't know if you call it rising action. Like, it felt like we were going somewhere. It was very positive. It was like...
I watched a review by somebody about Sabaton. We watched it together. It was like the top 5 worst bands or something.
Yeah.
And they were saying that Sabaton was cheesy.
Oh. Well, I disagree. I like them.
I didn't feel like they were cheesy. Maybe they write a bunch of cheesy songs, but this one wasn't cheesy.
I like this.
I felt like they personified and embodied the mind of a guy who's obviously you know, long since gone, and it's really cool too, because a lot of times, you know, when you grow up in America, you only hear American history. You know, obviously I've, you know, looked over at African history, but being able to see this character and okay, who's he? And being able to find out a couple things about him was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, I thought this is a good song. I didn't think it was corny. I could see how a person could think it's corny, but it's like, like I said, he's personifying this guy. He's entering into his mindset. So he's not going to speak in modern 2012 parlance, you know? So...
You know, I'm the wrong one to ask about corny stuff anyway, because I like corny.
Yeah, you like corny songs like, you know, Imagine and stuff. Huh? You still upset about that?
You had to do it.
You still wounded? You still mad at Mr. Vin? Huh? Alright. What do you give the song?
10. It was a 10 for me.
Solid 9.2. Solid 9.2. Good job, Sabaton. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
Hear my orders, question me and die.